What's the most embarrassing thing you saw someone doing because they thought nobody was watching? I once saw a girl holding an ice cream cone in one hand and her phone in the other lick the screen of her phone. When we made eye contact and she realized I'd seen it happen, she looked like she was going to die. One of the few memories I have of my sweet southern grandma is when we were having a popsicle on our front porch. I had also recently found a bird feather and couldn't part with it. In the chaos of popsicle time with grandma, I accidentally licked the feather. My grandma laughed so incredibly hard. I'll never forget her laugh and the joy my absent-mindedness always brought her. Working in large corporate parks during the recession, there were lots of huge office spaces with barely any residency. They basically overbuilt these large office parks expecting businesses to fill them up. So it would be like a huge complex with maybe 2 or 3 functioning businesses in them. The best part about this was the fact that you could always find a restroom to take a crap and that nobody ever used. I went to a restroom on a building across from mine that had 0 occupancy. Every time I went over there I never ran into anybody. One day during one of my particularly long craps, the timer on the lights turned off due to lack of motion. I thought no biggie, so I got up out the stall and attempt to move around so the lights would come on. They weren't coming on, so I ventured further out near the sinks and started moving my hands in a hip hop hooray motion while simultaneously saying hey I hoo hoo, just for craps and giggles. So the lights turn on and I'm still waving for a few seconds afterwards, thinking to myself how silly I must look with my pants and drawers to my ankles in a public bathroom waving my hands in the air. That's when I heard the door close. Somebody had walked into that bathroom and saw some businessman with his pants down his ankles waving his hands in the air yelling hey I hoo hoo, and decided to abruptly walk back out. I came back upstairs after leaving for work because I forgot my phone. My dogs thought I was gone for the day and didn't hear me come back up. Walk into living room and my youngest dog is laying on his back and my older dog is standing right in front of young dog's butt sniffing. Not normal dog sniffing, butt sniffs, deep, pronounced sniffing as if he was a sommelier trying to determine a wine's country of origin. I laughed and both dogs looked at me in utter fear and embarrassment. Eyes were huge. You could see the shame in their eyes, and one went to the couch and the other went to the bedroom. Neither looked me in the eye when I got home that afternoon. Forbidden love. When I was a child, maybe 7 or 8 years old, time spent in the bathroom was an opportunity to read books or just have a moment of quiet contemplation. One time during one of my extended toilet sessions, I got the bright idea to use the toilet paper to make a Ninja Turtle style mask for myself. No sooner had I torn the eye holes and wrapped it around my head, the door opens and my dad walks in. We make awkward eye contact for what felt like minutes, and then without a word being spoken, he slowly backed out and closed the door. I don't know why it was so embarrassing to me, but I still remember the whole scene quite clearly, and that was 20+ years ago. I'm a canoe guide, and being the guide I'm usually in the back of the canoe, steering. On this particular day, because it was training, and I was with a bunch of my coworkers, I was in the front. When I'm in the back, I'll periodically check to see if any plumber's crack is showing by basically feeling my lower back/top of my butt crack with my finger, then readjust my underwear if needed. I'm in the back of the boat, so no one sees that. However, on this day I did it in the front, giving the guy in the back of the boat a full showing of me fingering my butt crack. He promptly said, "I think that's a back of boat maneuver." I'm imagining you freezing in place when he pipes up, finger lodged in crack. Used to go to an old style gym years ago with an open shower setup. I hated to use the shower, but I'd work out before work and I'd have to get up even earlier to work out, then go back home to shower, then turn back around for work. So, the gym shower made more sense. One day I was done working out and was heading towards the shower when I hear someone yell, "What the duck are you doing?" I got there in time to see some dude with an erection turning beet red because he got caught jerking off in the public shower. He apologized over and over as he walked out, but you could tell he was mortified. I don't know what he thought could happen doing that in a public shower. Maybe he was excited by the thought, then once he got caught felt really stupid. Anyway, that guy was clearly ashamed of himself, and I've never seen anyone look more embarrassed. So, I'm going to have to go with that. I would normally correct beet red, but here it seems appropriate. I was in a meeting in my client's boardroom. The boardroom was at ground level and the exterior glass was mirrored on the outside, but see-through from inside. In the middle of the meeting, some sketchy looking dude comes over and starts picking his teeth in the mirror. Then he looks left, looks right, sees he has privacy, so he whips out his junk and starts inspecting it in the mirror. He then started trying to pop pimples or something. My client just got up, walked over to the glass, and gave a little rap on the window in front of him. He put his junk away and moved on. My dad was telling me a story similar to this. He was leading a meeting with about 10 people, from what I can tell, in Seattle, relevant because there are lots of homeless people there. He was speaking from the side of the room opposite the window on the ground floor, so everyone was looking away from the window except him. Outside the window, a homeless man looked around a bit, walked over to a tree, squatted on the side closer to the building, and took a dump. My father kept the meeting going and interrupted with a straight face, while a homeless man was crapping right outside the window. I used to deliver newspapers. One Sunday I got the papers extremely early and delivered to a Sunday only customer at around 3 AM. When it's this early, I always lift my paper up and smile so customers don't think I'm there to rob them. As I approached this house, I noticed movement inside. Cue the smile and raised newspaper as I witnessed a shirtless, middle-aged man with a large pot belly rubbing his belly vigorously. I approach, smile and paper in hand. He notices me and runs out of the room. I'm thinking, no dude, don't do your thing. I'm just a paper boy. Don't let me dictate how you live your life. He cancelled the next week. Was he rubbing his belly or jerking off? I'm confused. What's embarrassing about rubbing your belly? There isn't anything embarrassing about it to me and you. But the sheer look of terror I saw when we locked eyes is burned into my soul. The only thing missing was a Homer Simpson yelp. I used Duolingo to practice my Spanish while waiting for the bus each morning. When I'm alone, I like to say each question and answer aloud to practice my pronunciation as well. One day as I waited for the bus, a group of people gathered behind me without me noticing. I had headphones on and practiced each sentence out loud as I worked through my day's Spanish activities. When the bus finally came and I pulled off my headphones, I realized there were 6 or 7 strangers behind me. All had been awkwardly listening to me speak Spanish to myself for 5 minutes. I felt so embarrassed. Don't worry, they probably just thought you were insane. The very first time my girlfriend ever came to my house, we decided to watch Lord of the Rings. She had never seen it before and was excited to watch it. Anyway, she was laying down on my bed with legs pointed towards the ceiling and butt up against the wall, kind of like an L shape. So during one of the tense scenes, IDK, which I do the whole grab her sides and go RAGHH thing. She then proceeded to let the loudest and longest fart I'd ever heard anyone release. And because her butt was against the wall, it reverberated and made it seem even louder. I just burst out laughing for like 5 minutes straight, and she is so embarrassed she starts crying. It was the cutest thing I've ever seen. We are still together and have a 2-year-old now. Well, of course you have a kid together. You know her most embarrassing secret. Can't have someone like that running around untamed. She had to lock you down. One day I decide to take a walk to this park near my house. I take my book, a couple of joints. Good way to kill a summer's evening, right? So I go and find my favorite tree and climb up to a comfy position high up in the branches. Some guy is walking in the park and, well, clearly, nature called. Without noticing me sat above him in the tree, he pulls down his pants and does a massive stinking turd, pulls up his pants without wiping, and walks off, as if it's all cool. So I'm sat there, having seen everything, and now I have to climb down from a tree with a massive man turd right where I was going to climb down. Still a traumatic memory to this day. I was walking downtown with a buddy of mine, just casually chatting, and I stopped to light a smoke. While we were stopped, my friend started adjusting his hair, using his reflection in the tinted window of the glasses store we were right beside. As soon as I looked up at him, from my angle, I could clearly see that the front counter of the glasses store was like 6 feet behind the window where my buddy was looking. It was pointed directly at him, and both of the girls at the counter were just staring, perplexed looks and all, while he appeared to stare directly back at them, still adjusting and checking himself out. So I obviously just watched and let this go on for another 30 seconds until my friend started to walk away, at which point I told him to look through the window. So he immediately saw the two girls he'd been staring at for the last minute. They both waved and laughed, and my friend awkwardly waved back and then looked straight at his shoes and briskly walked away. My buddy did this, but it was a tinted car window and he was popping a massive pimple on his face. He didn't know someone was in the car. The girl started screaming like she was being murdered. I do freelance work at sports events. One time, between setup and the time the game started, I was standing at the top of a hill that leads up to the building. I looked around to make sure nobody was there. Then I laid down and rolled down that ducker. It was super steep and it was awesome. I got up, brushed myself off, and went back inside to work. Found out the next week that my boss had seen me and had told everybody on the crew. Joy. That's adorable. Enjoying the simpler things in life.